All right, family. So more Luka Doncic news. Have you been out the loop, not being able to stay up to date on everything going on around the NBA? Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and many, many more. Kevin Durant, trade rumors, and news buzz. You're in the right place. This is the one-stop shop for all that.
And that's facts.
You're gonna learn today.
Well, before you go, do you know Luka's record the last 10 games against Boston?
3-7.
1-9.
Okay, I thought it was bad. Well, so now you're telling me it's really bad. I think when we talk about all-time great players, there's always a certain team they struggle against. Early LeBron struggled against the Celtics, especially in the playoffs.
Oh, we got to stop it here because you know Luka Doncic also struggles with the Clippers, should I say, the Scrippers.
Shots fired! Against the Heat for a couple of their matchups. And I think right now, Luka, kryptonite, his kryptonite's the Celtics. They have defenders everywhere, and he doesn't play his best brand of basketball against them. And it's been that way for a while now since they've got it really, really good. But I also don't think this is the best Luka that we've seen. I don't think Luka looks the same. And I think it's been a while since he looked the same since last year before the start of.
Well, it's hard for Luka Doncic to look the same, especially coming from the Dallas Mavericks and going to the system of the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James, the floor general, being able to direct everything on the basketball court. So careless decisions Luka Doncic will make with the basketball in Dallas. He doesn't feel comfortable making those decisions in Los Angeles or with the Lakers and LeBron James because Luka Doncic had free range in Dallas. And a lot of people are not realizing that his shooting splits, you can go back years on years. Luka Doncic has always been a high volume shooter. Therefore, he's going to miss a lot of shots and he's going to make a good amount of shots. This is how the Luka Doncic shot meter works. The more shots he put up, the better his shooting gets. So if he's put up 15 shots, around 8 after the 8 miss, normally he'll start to make them. It'll be one on, one off, or he can get hot and make 3 in a row.
You're gonna learn today.
The playoffs, and that's not saying that he's not great because he's still a great player and he has made adjustments to his game. But if you've been watching Luka for a year, it just feels like certain spots, they're tougher for him to get to. And you look at the percentage of shots that he has at the rim. This year it's at 15.6%. Last year it was at 16%. But what's went down have been the drives. This year he's at 14.7 drives per game. Last year he was at 17.8 drives per game. So that's about, a 3.5 drive difference. And
can we talk about it? Was Nico cooking? Because with these stats and information that Joel just gave off, the way that the Dallas Mavericks envision him operating in the half court, getting downhill, using his body to get the defender on his back, manipulating the defense, and taking advantage of all the space that he's able to create when sizing up the defender on him, being able to see over them at 6'8".
When we talk about early Luka, his second year when he was already an MVP candidate, 30.7% of his shots were at the rim, and he was driving to the basket almost 21 times per game. So I feel like he's definitely traded off the speed and agility for being more of a post player, but I don't know if that's where he's at his best. I think it is at his best where he is slimmer and he's able to play faster. But right now, I don't think it's his weight that's really bothering him. I think it's the hamstring. And then he was playing with a bad back yesterday, and he had a heat pad on it, I think, in like the third quarter before he got into the game in the fourth quarter. So when that same Luka is going to show up, but until that Luka shows up, I don't think he is as dominant on a game-to-game basis as these other players at the top.
You said he was going to show up against Boston.
Tweeted out. He did kind of. Fourth quarter. I'll give him that. Fourth quarter.
For Luka Doncic, a lot of people are saying that he scored a lot of those points in garbage minutes. They were already down 20 points, not being able to close the gap. And then that's when he goes on his spurt. But like I said, he's a high volume shooter. So the more shots he shoots, the better his efficiency will become throughout the game.
First three quarter, he was out there.
When it's dropping 30, not showing up.
This isn't
Joel, when we were watching the game,
all points are not created equal. We'll say that.
And that's facts.
You and I came to the same conclusion. We're watching early on.
And they're not even talking about the turnovers. He had a lot of turnovers, and they scored a good amount of points off of it. Let's keep.
You're gonna learn today.
And when he switches on to Horford, all he simply has to do is drive to the basket. Now, I'll give it to Horford. He did a great job of staying in front of Luka for a good portion. However, there were a lot of times where it seemed as if he was trying to do too much. Instead of just go up, get an attempt, either 1, make it, 2, get to the free throw line. It seemed as if he was hesitant. He was trying to pass the ball, and he wasn't looking to get his. Later in the game, we saw him.
Okay, on this Al Horford point, now I have a serious question for you. Do you think Al Horford turned back the hands of time? And I'm saying this is because I've heard it 2 times. He was able to do what he needed to do in order to not allow Luka to get to the basket? Or is it the fact that Luka Doncic is still dealing with lingering injuries that is keeping him from being able to get downhill?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I beg.
It's the injuries, man. He's not fully healthy. The Dallas Mavericks might have saw this one coming.
You're gonna learn today.
Start to be more aggressive, start to take the attempts at the basket. And that's when we really saw him start to get going. I think that it was a matter of overthinking the matchup, trying to make a play when it wasn't necessary, just needing to know when to go up. And I spoke about that earlier when Luka first came to the Lakers. We saw him start to get more and more comfortable. I think he kind of reverted back a little bit in these first few quarters. But when LeBron went out, it seemed as if he was a lot more confident in just putting up a basket. And that's when we really saw him start to take over. It needs to be now in his mind while LeBron.
Luka doesn't like criticism. So therefore, with LeBron James in the game, you can feel the tension, even if nobody says anything. So therefore, when LeBron went out the game, there was nobody there to really make him feel like he had to hold back.
LeBron's gone, and then inevitably when LeBron does come back, I'm still Luka. I still know that this is an efficient shot. I know that I'm still the best offensive player. It does not matter who's matched up on me. I need to take advantage of these mismatches.
The thing about Luka is I feel like his blow-up games now, when he's playing at an elite level, they're very reliant on shooting threes. If he's not having a good night from three, he's not going to have one of those dominant performances where I feel like other players, they're not so reliant on the three ball falling. And because Luka, I think he's just lost some burst, and I think he eventually will get back to himself, but he's just not there right now. I don't know. I just feel like I'm not watching the same player. I'm not watching the same dominant player that I was watching last year before he got injured. It's just not the same. And I don't know when that player's going to come back, but right now, I think the lack of burst off the dribble, like you mentioned about Al Horford, I think that's something that, he should consistently be beating him off the dribble and getting to the basket. And he doesn't. He settles. And dating back to the finals matchup, how many times was Horford on him and he settled for a tough three? I just think right now that's what he's dealing with.
I think you mentioned something important, Joel. I don't know if there's going to be a moment this season where he's going to get time to heal up. I think right now, especially with LeBron out, playoffs are gearing up. We got like 15, 20 games left, and the Lakers aren't comfortably the second seed. You're still hovering between 2 to 4. I think you're like a game or two above 3 right now. So, all these games are going to matter in terms of just placing your seeding. And
especially about the Brooklyn Nets.
Your pardon?
Talking about the Nets, man.
I think for Luka, with LeBron out, he has to kind of ramp it up. But I want to give all the credit in the world to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because not only did they show up on the defensive side, but they literally dominated on the offensive end. I mean, it was a complete get to the rim whenever they wanted to, get to the mid-range spot, exploit the mismatch,
All right, so who was responsible for allowing Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to go off? I'm hearing the consensus is Austin Reeves and Luka were getting pulled into every action. And that's one of the reasons why they
be good in transition, take advantage of the opportunities that they had. I mean, like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, this is like their third game in like a week or two where they've combined for 70 plus points, and they've woke up and decided we're going to go dominate this game. And they took this one as a challenge. Boston Lakers is a historic rivalry, especially when both.
Now, if they combined for 70 points, outside of Luka Doncic and Kyrie, 81 last season, that's one of the second highest numbers that I've heard in a while.
Teams at the top of the conference, you want to wake up and have this game feel like one of those get-ups games. And I feel like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum came to show up. I feel like Luka was struggling in the first half, and that was partly one of the reasons why they were down. Also, the Lakers defensively just couldn't figure out the Jays. I mean, they were letting them get easy mismatches. I didn't see a ton of switches and good switches, I want to say. And yeah, the Lakers didn't have Jackson Hayes, but the Celtics didn't have Porzingis. So realistically,
is it possible to send doubles and properly switch on the Boston Celtics, knowing that everybody is a weapon, being able to attack from 3 all over the perimeter on the court? So if someone leaves the help, someone will always be open. And the Boston Celtics do a great job of finding the open man, passing the ball, allowing it to create momentum for a knockdown 3.
I do think going forward with Luka, I don't know when he's going to be able to get healthy or when he's going to be able to, heal up from whatever injury it is, whether it be the knee or the back. I did see him take a fall.
Hamstring.
His back for a little bit throughout the game, and I did see the moment where he had the healing pads on. It's really just, he's in a tough situation where he has no real, especially from last summer.
Hey, as long as his knees aren't bleeding, because it was people throwing a shot at the man talking about his knee not bleeding. Injury is still injury. If he's unable to go out there and compete, at least his knee was bleeding and he was able to get to the rim.
And that's facts.
Playing, overseas and then coming straight to play. Like, there is no real time for him to get healthy.
I don't even think that was blood, though. That was probably some of the injection that was in his knee.
Like he needs to if he is actually really, really hurt. But credit to the Jays, credit to Boston. They came out, they showed out. The Jays did what they needed to do. And,
the Jays
probably heard the best duo in the league talks, and they probably are frustrated why people don't put them in number 1. And they just came and they showed out.
Consistency.
Where would they be for you?
Probably one because they won the chip. I'd probably put
I'm
them
saying, have some damn respect. Tell these guys. man.
Hindsight
Have
is
some damn respect.
2020. Rip would have been on a podcast, putting
Jordan
up number
at three.
3.
And that's facts.
We're
Wait,
gonna learn today.
wait. First of all, you're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Boy, scratched him.
Giannis and Dame.
Giannis and Dame. I'll probably put them 3.
Rib, fine matchup, but we didn't have Rui or Jackson. They did miss KP. I agree with you. At the same time, they had everyone else.
I mean, you had everybody else but Rui and Jackson Hayes. They had
And then
everybody.
LeBron also missed down the stretch.
Now, we all know not having Jackson Hayes for a team that does not have a legitimate center is a big deal. Just imagine Kessler Edwards out there, man. Come on, man. Give the Lakers some respect out here. They needed a center. We'll say that.
And
They definitely needed a center in that game.
John,
They got to a 4-point game without.
Because if we look at it, I'm pretty sure they got dominated on the rebounds. And when you get dominated on the defensive and offensive rebounds, it's going to be a tough night for you because that allows the other team to get second chance points and second chance opportunities, maybe even third chances, depending on the amount of effort. And JJ Redick also mentioned in the press conference, it was just a lot of guys trying to take the shortcut. You can't take the shortcut route. You got to do it the hard way. That way, it pays off. Process over the progress, because when you learn the process, progress will come.
And that's facts.
We're gonna learn today.
Without LeBron being in there.
I agreed. That's why I
Despite the
respect us for
Celtics
that.
outplaying them up until that stretch, pretty
John,
much.
agree.
what more does Jason Tatum have to do?
Question, Joel. This was a great game by him and Jaylen Brown. It was an impressive win nonetheless. Another moment in time where we've kind of seen the Celtics have a good formula to defending Luka, as you guys highlighted so well. Luka's coming off that left calf injury, which he's still trying to get comfortable playing off of, being able to trust his body, and he's also seemingly playing his way into shape in a brand new situation. So it hasn't been the same Luka, of course. And to go along with that, the Lakers have had to embrace that next minute mentality.
And when you start to think about all those injuries, when it comes to the shooting, the motions generate starting with your feet. Goes up through the legs, through the hips, through the waist, all the way through the chest, through the arms. It's one motion, a fluid motion. So therefore, if you have an injury, especially in your legs, in one of the most important parts of the shot, then therefore you're not going to have good results or consistent results for the outcome that you would like to see.
A lot of guys having to come into the lineup. Trey Jemison coming in off the bench, contributing a little bit. No Jackson Hayes in this game. It changes the entire blueprint of the lineup because now you have to play LeBron up and Luka.
That's what I said.
So I believe that with how thin the Lakers rotation is, that core 6 to 7 guys, they, in a game like this, missing 2.5 starters at a certain point in time, 3 with LeBron going out, it kind of compromised what they have been doing so well up until this point. But I will say, kind of in
They
the,
just needed Jackson,
review,
really.
they need to make
And
sure LeBron comes
LBJ
back
not to go
100%.
down.
They should take their time with him resting. I know they have the Nuggets and the Bucks, but really what matters more than that is LeBron being healthy for the playoffs. We saw back in 2019 with the groin injury how much time he missed. You don't want to play with that because how easy it is to re-aggravate. But in the meantime, Dells, I mean, Celtics look damn good. And how about Payne Pritchard and Derek White a couple nights before, man?
Second
Yeah,
best.
40 apiece.
No.
Wish they showed up.
We should talk.
Who is the best 6 man in the league? I need to know.
I beg your pardon.
I say, where the 6 men's? Hey, yo! For the awards.
We're gonna learn today.
About the real duo.
That's going to
Peyton
be a great
Pritchard and
trivia
Derek
question.
Second best team talk.
Second best team. That's facts. Cleveland's got it right now. I will say this was. I thought there's
Shots.
a lot of talk on the internet and shots fired that Tatum played, Brown, Horford. Like the Celtics treated this as a playoff game. They did, and I think they should have. There's really before this game, there was 2 games that matter on the Celtics schedule the rest of the season. It's this Lakers game Saturday, and it's OKC on Wednesday. Other than that, you're not playing anybody else. Like you have the Knicks in April, but with all due respect, handle business there. Other than that, we don't got anybody else to really play for. We're playing the last 15 games, teams that we won't be seeing in the playoffs more likely than not. So I do want to.
So, with that being said, did the Boston Celtics take this as a playoff game, only using a short rotation of guys in order to the Lakers? It was unfortunate with LBJ going down, Luka Doncic gathering, because we're going to say he was gathering points once the Lakers were down more than 20 points in order to make it seem as if the game was even close.
To see these games where you're playing a possible finals opponent, a possible ECF opponent. Yeah, let's see these playoff minutes. They didn't play the entire first quarter. He played into the second quarter. Al Horford played 37 minutes. Jaylen Brown played 42 minutes. And I think it's dope that Missoula allowed that, number one, because he even said after the game, he got asked about the minutes and he said, like, listen, it's Lakers Celtics. Like, this is the biggest rivalry in the NBA. It's the most historic one. And these guys are playing for their legacy. So yeah, Jason Tatum, if it's a 4-point game down the stretch, you're not coming out in the second half. You need to prove and you need to go out there and win that game. So I thought it was dope that they played the heavy minutes. I thought it was dope that they treated it like a playoff game because you don't get a lot of opportunities like this to really ready yourself for a playoff series. Once the playoff series, and it's hard to replicate that atmosphere and, you know, just that overall like attention to detail you need. So I think it was important that they did it. And I wouldn't be surprised that again Wednesday against OKC.
The knee or the
All right, family, that wraps it up. Family, I appreciate you for staying in the loop, staying engaged, for all the latest NBA news, hot topics, and that good old Hot tea.
And that's facts.
Tap in so you can be back in. I am your host a lot. And until another installment where you can lock in to Lockbox ENT, we out.
And that's facts.